What's happening, everybody? Today I'm going to bring you my Pokemon Let's Go Eevee review. This week I've had a lot of time to play it and be able to get a good feel for the game because living in the Midwest in this past week has been very interesting with the temperatures plunging to negative 50. I've even seen 70 some places. This is typically unheard of in this area. But regardless, that gave me a lot of time to stay indoors and play lots of games. So without further ado, here is my review on Let's Go Eevee. So, Pokemon Let's Go Eevee and Let's Go Pikachu came out in this past November 2018. I believe it was the 16th. But regardless, this was not a new entry to the Pokemon franchise. It was just kind of a reworking of a previous game, Pokemon Yellow, that they have now introduced into the series. And to me, this whole game seems like a mishmash or a trial of two different gaming types that they tried to put into one, just kind of as an experiment. So, as I previously mentioned, this was modeled after a previous game. It was modeled after Pokemon Yellow from way back when. I guess I don't even know when that came out. But regardless, it was I think one of the less popular games because it came out around the time of Pokemon Red and Blue. That's probably why they chose to rework this one as opposed to any of the other ones, because maybe it was a bit less popular. And as far as I can tell, like just the look of it and the feel of it, it is still your standard Pokemon game. But quickly that view changed once you started to actually dive into the game itself. Some of the core mechanics have changed a little bit. Well, not a little bit, actually, quite a bit. And how you do things has differed. Some stuff has stayed the same, and it's, like I said previously, a meshing of two different kinds of games. And to dive into that a little bit more, the best way I can describe it is a combination of the standard Pokemon formula of you go to a gym, battle the gym leader, get a badge, move on, all that good stuff. The classic Pokemon gaming formula, and it's now meshed with Pokemon Go, the mobile game. This really shows in a couple of different ways. First off, when it comes to actually catching Pokemon, the standard way is you actually battled Pokemon, and you would fight to get their health to a low point, and then usually you would try to catch them with a Pokeball, or you would flat out kill them, and then you would just continue on. But now, encounters with wild Pokemon has changed to more of a Pokemon Go formula. You encounter a Pokemon and you can either just catch it or just run away. There is no option in between. This may sound a little ridiculous, but this plays into some of the other mechanics that this game has tweaked a little bit from the original Pokemon formula. But regardless, as I said, catching Pokemon is the exact same as Pokemon Go. That has a little circle that shrinks. If you get it in there, you get a certain amount of XP, and you get like an excellent throw, or a great throw, or just an okay or good throw, I think they call it, and all that jazz. So that is one big difference. The other big difference that I mentioned is that once you catch these Pokemon, that is how you level up your Pokemon with XP. Every Pokemon that you catch, it gives a certain amount of XP. And again, if you get an excellent throw or get the Pokemon on your first throw, this contributes to the amount of XP that you get. And one thing that I do like about it is that it spreads the XP across all the Pokemon that you have in your lineup. The 6 Pokemon that you have in your lineup all get that same amount of XP. So it makes leveling up Pokemon fairly easy. But with that comes the issues that I've had with Pokemon Go and just the almost randomness of whether you will catch a Pokemon or not. And what I mean by that is, I don't know if it's just a perception kind of thing that I think this, or if it's actually a game mechanic, but my thought would be if you get an excellent throw when you go to catch a Pokemon, the higher chances that you will actually like catch the Pokemon. But half the time when I get an excellent throw, they still break free and break out of the Pokeball. And then the throw right after that excellent throw, I won't even get it inside the circled ring. I'll still go and catch him, but it won't be inside the ring, but it still ends up being a caught Pokemon. And so my issue with that is just like, I don't know if it's something that I don't understand in the formula of how it decides if it's caught or not, or if it's just a randomized mechanic, or if getting an excellent throw just determines the amount of XP that you get. So that's one mechanic that it has its good and its bad, but it's just kind of, it's alright, and it kind of leaves a weird feeling to me after a while. It's just kind of like, since it is different from the typical Pokemon formula, it really just kind of throws off the feel a little bit of the game. But from there, when it comes to battling other trainers, it is the standard Pokemon type game. You go up against them and you choose which move you want to use, you choose which Pokemon you want to use, except for your starter that automatically goes out as per usual. So all of that is still the same. It's just how you level up your Pokemon and all that jazz, how you get to leveling up your Pokemon has changed. Which, as I said, it kind of leaves a weird taste in my mouth, but kind of also on the positive side, it also takes away the amount of grinding that you have to do to be able to go to the gym and be successful at that gym, which some people will like, others won't. It really just kind of depends on your preference, but that is a notable difference that I have noticed between the original game and this Pokemon Let's Go Eevee or Pikachu. But from there, as far as I could tell, everything else is pretty much the same. It still has like all the usual mechanics and the trees that you have to learn a special move to be able to cut down, and like going to the gym and battling the trainers and Team Rocket's there, and just all that good jazz. All of it is eerily similar, with one exception that, relatively speaking, is actually a lot of fun. And that exception is being able to do 2-player on any sort of screen. Now, if that kind of terrifies you and really throws you off, then I'm sorry. But it is kind of a fun mechanic that it has worked into this Pokemon game. So if you're playing by yourself, anyone at any time can join in and start to play with you. But the second player really doesn't have any control on what happens in the game itself. And what I mean by that is they can run into Pokemon, they can walk right past trainers, and they will all just straight up ignore you. The only time the second player comes into play at all is actually during the battle, and during Pokemon battles, and during the catching phase as well. During the catching phase, you can actually both throw a Pokeball to get... It's a different... You get a special little cutscene as opposed to just the standard one. And then in battle, which is a big difference when it comes to actually battling, you get 2 Pokemon versus the one person that you're facing off against, which is a big difference in terms of mechanics and the grind of the game and the difficulty level of the game. I have read online in multiple places that it doesn't actually ramp up the difficulty when you have 2 people playing, when it's your 2 Pokemon versus the computer's or the AI's 1 Pokemon. The difficulty level stays exactly the same, and they typically don't get 2 Pokemon. Although I did a battle with Team Rocket, and yeah, they had 2 Pokemon, but besides the point. So this is essentially easy mode, which I can completely understand if it's like a family member and their child, or like a younger sibling or something like that. It's a good game to use to be able to bond and play together and keep the effects of like a standard 2-player game to a minimum, and just allow a casual experience for everyone involved. Kind of an overarching difference. It's not a huge difference, but it's just something I feel feel as though I should point out is actually how you play, which that sounds a bit iffy, but actually let me explain. So what I mean by that is how you play in terms of controllers and stuff like that. So if you're playing on a regular TV and your Switch is connected to the TV and all that good jazz, you really can play with only one Joy-Con like this. And so you just move around with the joystick and you select with all the buttons up here, and that's pretty much it. Which is perfectly fine. The thing that I found fun at first but annoying after a while was actually how you catch Pokemon. So when you're playing with a single Joy-Con and you're looking at the TV and playing there, how you catch Pokemon is like you actually throw the Joy-Con. You make a throwing motion, and that's how you throw the Pokeball. And if you're playing with two people, the other person gets the other Joy-Con and you both throw the Pokeball in that fashion. At first, it was cool, it was fun, it was slightly more interactive than any other Pokemon game beforehand. But after, I'd say about like 2-ish plus hours of catching Pokemon fairly consistently and constantly throwing your arm, it gets a little annoying after a while, and I wish there was a function to be able to turn that off so that you can play it that way. There is also an extra peripheral that you can buy that is just like a straight Pokeball that has like the joystick and like buttons on it, so it's a more engaging experience. I didn't find it necessary to be able to really purchase that at all. The other way that you can play, obviously, is just on the full Switch itself. And again, the mechanic of catching Pokemon has changed yet again. And that I prefer over the throwing motion constantly. Because when you go to catch, you actually have to like move the Switch over and to be able to follow the Pokemon, which that mechanic is still kind of annoying, but still, if I were to choose either doing that consistently or throwing consistently, I would choose just moving the Switch around itself to be able to catch the Pokemon. But that's just my preference. And with all of that said, that brings us down to my actual full opinion of the game. I have not yet completed the game, but I have played enough to get a full grasp of it. And I have to say, it is a good game, and as most of my other reviews go, there is a bit of a caveat to that. It is another fun-filled Pokemon game, and the mechanics and the tweaks in the gameplay and how you level up your Pokemon may scare some people away, and that is completely understandable. So, like, there are people who are die-hard fans of the standard Pokemon formula that will not like these changes to the mechanics and all that stuff. For a more casual player, this might be a good time to jump into the Pokemon universe. So overall, I would say that it is a good game to get. 2 thumbs up. God, that was cheesy. But this is a good game with that caveat aside. And with all of that said, if you have any questions, any comments, or anything like that, feel free to leave that down below. Also down below in the description, I will link to the stream that I did so you can see some straight up gameplay and decide for yourself if this game would be a good choice for you or not. If you found this video helpful and you liked the way I presented it, please hit that thumbs up button. If this is like the 3rd or 4th video that you've seen of me and you like this and you like seeing my face consistently and you like the type of videos that I do, please hit that subscribe button, and also remember to ring that little bell so you know when I post new videos or when I stream or anything like that. And with all of that said, this is 3G Geek signing off.